So my question to you is, when did you start to develop this confidence? Were you always very high self-esteem, or did this was this a, not to psychoanalyze you too much, but
Well, it depends on what you mean by confidence, because you don't always have the same confidence levels in all things.
yes.
My dad had a friend of his, and that friend's grandson was this little kid named Brian. When we were about 4 or 5 years old, there's a photograph of us in an alley in New York with our arms around each other, me and Brian. And my only real memory, other than that photo, is what I was that this kid ain't too bright. You want to know why? Is my dad, who only graduated from sixth grade.
Mm,
Uh, my dad was a working class union man. He hated LBJ for starting the Vietnam War. He hated Nixon even more for doubling down on it after
right.
promising to get us out of it. Uh, he had been fired trying to unionize before he got a civil service job in New York. So I would every night when my dad came home when I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, it was the war, the goddamn war. These people and Nixon and I would end up parroting things my dad
Yeah.
said to my friend. Like I would ask this kid Brian, and I remember saying to him, so what are you in support of the war in Vietnam or whatnot? And maybe it was something else that my dad had said, and this kid was like Vietnam, and the drool coming down his. I remember. "Oh, this kid isn't that smart." Now I was just a precocious kid. He was
Yeah.
a normal kid, and he'd have no idea about whether the Viet Cong were good guys or bad guys, or William Westmoreland, or all this other stuff that I was drenched in because of my dad's rage against the way
Mm.
America is run. But it. You just have to sort of go. And I forget now what was the original question. I got off on the
Well,
gentleman.
I don't know why I'm beating around the bush. My question was basically like, as a kid, did you feel
Oh yes, yes,
maybe
my
not
confidence.
confident, and then one day you write a poem and you're like, actually, that's great. I'm really good at
Well,
that,
no,
and then you gain confidence.
I knew. I'll give you an example too. When I was a kid, when I was 5 or 6 years old, the hookers around my street used to use us little kids to go out and solicit the Johns coming by,
Right,
and so
right.
we'd say, "Yeah, there's the girl in the pink," and she'd lift up her dress, spread apart her cheeks or whatever she wanted to do to give a glimpse of the goods, and I'd get a quarter, 50 cents
I
or
was gonna
whatnot.
say, did you get? Yeah, yeah.
And that was enough a soda, a Spider-Man comic, and whatever else in that day. And so I was confident in that. I got the first job I had was delivering newspapers, and the routes for this local newspaper in Queens was run by a gangster. He later then got me a job at a warehouse. This was what I was talking about yesterday with this fellow I worked with. Now, so I was confident in that manner. When I was young, if you go on my one of my it's my E-Cosmoetica site, you'll see I
Yeah.
have Christmas 1972 where and you listen to me, and you wouldn't know. You think I was living a Brady Bunch kind of life rather
Yeah.
than living a good fellow, because I was very brash and confident. I was, it's like one of these kids that, "Shut up, Danny, just sit down, be quiet." um,
Hmm.
uh, but then you hit your teen years, and you start wearing glasses. I got
Hmm.
eyeglasses on, and so you're feeling less confident. So confidence levels in my intellect, my intelligence, I never had an issue with. Confidence
Gotcha.
level in approaching girls or whatnot. I have my gap between my teeth, glasses. I'm not the football star. And then there's
Right.
confidence level in where you grew up, and all the times I saw women raped, or people shot dead, or animals being tortured or whatnot. And did I do something? Could I have done something? I would have these ethical questions in my life. So saying someone's self
Hmm.
confident, if you really look at it, there are different areas. Unless you're a narcissist like a Donald Trump, or
Right.
a lot of these other people who believe that they're good at everything.
I'm the greatest
And,
golfer that's ever lived,
and
Dan.
but do they really believe it? Because
That's the question,
I
isn't
was
it?
talking with that same guy a few weeks ago, and I was telling him, you know that Donald Trump is just making up for his lack, because
Very
his
deep
father his
insecure. Yeah.
his father couldn't stand him. It was
Yeah.
Fred Trump Jr., the older
Yeah.
brother, who was the
Mm.
golden boy, and Donald was on the outs, and he spent his whole life trying to make himself up.